you make beats on a computer, everybody would be laughing at you if it wasn't for Ninth Wonder. He was the first producer to legitimize making beats using a computer, but he also received a lot of criticism for this.
I was laughed at a lot for making beats on Fruity Loops for a very long time.
But why? Why was Ninth Wonder hated for doing what everyone does today? Well, I want to share this full untold story and also explain why you might also get hated on, just like Ninth Wonder, if you make beats too. So to fully understand what happened, we need to rewind to the year 2000. Ninth Wonder's friend Crisis, who's also another great producer, introduces him to a program called Fruity Loops, a program that was released just 3 years prior. It was a new way for aspiring producers to make beats. And this is an important piece of the story here. Using Fruity Loops wasn't Ninth Wonder's choice, it was done more out of necessity. He was reluctant to make beats using a computer. And the reason why was because at this time, every serious hip-hop producer used hardware. Whether it was an MPC, ASR, or SP, the hardware alternatives costed producers hundreds or even thousands of dollars, which for many is an impossibility. So Ninth Wonder starts his beat making journey by using Fruity Loops, but here's where things get crazy. Just 3 years later, he goes on to produce for what might be the biggest rapper on the planet, Jay-Z, on his song Threat.
Niggas, stop fucking with me.
And to make this beat, Ninth Wonder's process has not changed.
I made Jay-Z's Threat on an IBM ThinkPad.
That's crazy.
Wow. Okay.
And using his computer, this is the sample he flips.
My time, my patience, my love, my blood, my sweat, my tears.
This is how Ninth chops the sample up. And then he brings in the drum and the bass. So this is how Ninth made Threat for Jay-Z. And he continues to use a computer to make his beats even after this initial success, and this shocks people. For example, here's his retelling of producing the track Girl for Beyonce and Destiny's Child and playing the beat for Beyonce's dad.
He said, oh, this is a smash. This is a hit. He looked at me, he was like, you made this beat, son? I said, yes, sir. And Beyonce turned to him and said, Daddy, he made it on that.
So Ninth Wonder stuck to his guns with his production process, but this is where the floodgates start to open. It's when people start hating on Ninth Wonder. Whether it was criticizing him for making beats on a laptop, or just generally being angry over him and how his beats sounded, many people were upset. To them, he wasn't making beats like a serious producer, but he was still somehow succeeding. Now thankfully, Ninth chose to ignore all of this pressure and continue to have a phenomenal career, because by this point, he understood something that many inexperienced producers don't. Let me explain what that is. Here's footage from the early 2000s of The Alchemist using what I believe is an ASR-10 to make the beat for K-Slay Shit by Infamous Mob.
Popping them things, drama we bring like Tony with his arm in a sling. Drama we bring, you know what type of armor we bring.
And here, I'm gonna try my best to remake it using the modern version of FL Studio. First, I'll grab the sample. And I'll chop it up just like The Alchemist did. From here, I'll add drums and do some audio treatment to the actual track. And now let's compare what I've made to the Alchemist version that came from the ASR-10.
Popping them things, drama.
It's close, but does it sound 100% identical? Probably not. Different tools can result in differences in how a beat sounds. There is often a slight difference in tonality, for example. And for some people, this slight difference is what makes a beat using hardware superior to a beat made using software. But what is it about this slight difference that actually makes it better? Well, here's what Ninth Wonder had to say about this exact thing in an interview. He mentions that established producers like Just Blaze or Pete Rock didn't care whether he used Fruity Loops to make his beats. They didn't believe this idea that beats made using hardware were actually superior. It was the losers, the people who ain't got no friends, as Ninth put it, who believed this, and they were the ones who hated on him for using Fruity Loops. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this comment and how you should think about making the right choice for your own beat making tool. If you're deciding what you should use, the first question you need to ask yourself is whether you're more interested in A, making good beats, or B, gaining status. Now, if you answered A, then my advice to you is just to use whatever you're most comfortable with. All these programs and tools essentially let you do the same thing. They might sound slightly different, but different doesn't mean better or worse. It just means different. Your own ideas, creativity, and decision making will be what actually matters if you want to make good beats. But if you chose the second option, if you're trying to gain status, then I would actually recommend that you go out and buy the most expensive hardware you can. Because I'll be honest, there is a community of people who will be in awe of you. There are people who romanticize classic samplers and synths, and they will think highly of you if you use these tools to make your music. But just understand, you're not gaining respect from these people because of your music. You've now fallen into an entirely different status game. Now, what do I mean by this? In Ninth Wonder's example, Just Blaze and producers like him have gained their status through their amazing music, real accomplishments, and production abilities. And then you have people who have not accomplished anything as a producer, the dudes who ain't got no friends, as Ninth Wonder put it. And often these people know that they're lower in status, and they're looking for a way to increase it. But instead of doing the hard work of creating something remarkable as a producer, they decide to play an entirely different game. Instead, they start obsessing over hardware and equipment and what programs people use. They'll start trying to convince others that these things actually matter. And the reason why? Because it's a game where they can easily start gaining status, since this game is pay to win. It doesn't require actual talent or hard work or accomplishing anything. It's just about who has the biggest wallet. And this is why I say you might be a target of this kind of hate if you make beats too. It's inevitable that you're gonna run into someone like this. So if you see someone who says only real producers use MPCs, or FL Studio is better than Ableton, whatever it may be, just understand what is actually happening here. This person is unhappy with where they are and is trying to look for a way to lower you down so they can stand on your shoulders to call themselves tall. But Ninth Wonder knew these people shouldn't be listened to way back then, and hopefully you're also realizing it after you watch this video. My advice, just ignore these people and focus on what actually matters most, making great music. So hopefully you liked this video. If you did, hit like and subscribe. Check out this video next to me. It's super cool, really, really good. And other than that, I hope to see you next week. Bye bye.